company, which will be coming back next year. I work the backstage, but I love watching the newer guys, the younger talent coming in, and you talked about that hunger that they have, and they're, like you said, some of them are very bashful when they are backstage, and they are very timid about talking to people, and you almost wonder, like, is this going to work whenever they go out there? Because they, you imagine these larger than life personalities, they imagine them, the backstage are the same way, but some of them are just extremely timid and very shy. But once they get out there, they're, luckily they get out of themselves and they become that character, or they become what they wish they could be in normal life. And it's amazing to watch, because that transformation is just night and day, and it's the most amazing thing.
And these shy people, they're going to make friends. Through wrestling, they're going to make these friends. That's it. I said 1 minute ago, everybody knows through wrestling. But even if I was just on a local level, never traveled outside 150 miles, it would still be all I know is people through wrestling. And these are people I like. These are people that they're different. I'm different. They understand different. And there's a lot of commonality between, these struggling young people that are just trying to bring a smile to themselves. And I don't know. I like it. I think it's good for people.
I think it is too, because it's almost, it is theater in the sense that you are becoming a character, and I think a lot more people may not, they may not at some point do the theater aspect of it while getting on a stage or whatever, but if they're in pro wrestling, they are getting on that stage or getting in that ring, and they are becoming that character that they can hone and they can really sink their teeth into and really develop, hopefully over time, that they get more comfortable with it, obviously, and they are able to, not be their normal self that they are when they're not in front of the crowd.
Or maybe this persona will help them with their flaws of their normal self, and the flaws being not that they pick their nose, but the flaws being that you don't need to be so shy. Nobody's going to bite your hand off. You'll be okay. Wrestling definitely helped me with my confidence. Not that I'm a confident guy now, but I was a shell before it.
Yeah, we're not all Ric Flair all the time, but, if you could take aspects of being Ric Flair, then put those into your normal life, then, you can own a room with little to no effort.
That's true, yeah.
Now, speaking of shy people that kind of needed to get out of their shell, I read that you were requested to help Ronda Rousey produce her match. And from what, I was a fan of her in the UFC, and then when she came over, it just made sense because she's also, she would go to the PWG shows, and she was friends with Shayna Baszler, and all those girls love pro wrestling. So her getting over, it just made sense. But she's always had issues with cutting promos and kind of showing any emotion that's not, I'm pissed off all the time. Well, I know that she's had some speech issues her entire life. I think it's a neurological issue she has. But when it came to helping her, produce matches and getting those together, how was it working with her, and how did that even come to be? Because I also read that you helped Bad Bunny in his WrestleMania 37 match.
Yes. Yeah. So the Ronda stuff, came through Roderick Strong.
Oh.
Yeah. His wife and Ronda are best friends. She wanted to come. She was interested in being a pro wrestler. And so Roderick said, well, why don't you go train with Spanky? And I got a text from Roderick. Hey, would you want to train Ronda Rousey? Yes, of course. And so we did. Yeah. And she's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, my strategy was this. I'm going to teach her the basic moves of pro wrestling: hip toss, headlock takeover, arm drag. Now, I don't want you to do this. What would you do instead of this American arm drag? Oh, well, that's kind of like, and then she would say some name of something.
Yeah, judo throw. Yeah.
Yes, it'll always be a judo something, something. Okay, we'll do that instead. And so it was the idea of just trying to blend her two styles. And I don't know how else to say it other than the corny, but it was a blessing. Just being around her, she's fantastic. Her husband's fantastic. Their kid's fantastic.
He's super nice. Yeah.
Super nice guy, and she's been nothing but good to me and kind to my wife. And man, I know that everybody gets grief, and if you succeed for too long, you know you're gonna get fingers pointing at you. But man, I mean, what an inspirational woman who's, you know, like you said, she had her speech issues where she couldn't talk for her developing years, and you know she's one out there. Not only is she's very smart and Olympian, and you know helped put women's MMA on the map. I know she wasn't the first one. I know women like Gina Carano and Cyborg were there too, but she really helped elevate it even further. And yeah, I've got nothing but kind things to say about her. And then with Bad Bunny, that just came about because he was doing the Grammys, and I lived in LA, so he wanted to continue to train, and we did. And I think he liked my approach, which was, let's just teach you what you're going to do. And because of that, I was asked to come back for the match in Puerto Rico, which was one of the highlights of my life, getting to go down to Puerto Rico for that. It was fantastic.
So, okay, I have to ask this because that crowd was on another level that people want them to go back to Puerto Rico more, because they're an electric crowd as it is. We've always heard the stories of the Colon family, and, you know, I think Flair said he had to drop the title down there, otherwise he wasn't going to make it out of Puerto Rico alive. And so then he would have, obviously, the return match and whatever. But that crowd and that entrance for Bad Bunny, I had to show other friends that knew about Bad Bunny, but they didn't, you know, they're not wrestling fans. So I had to, like, all right, you have to watch this entrance alone, because it felt like I wasn't there obviously, but I felt it through the TV. It felt like a concert. They were singing along every single word, the breaks. I don't think there was one person sitting down. Were you backstage, or were you kind of like peeking behind the curtain and kind of feeling it? Like, because
it was right
they were hot.
Jamie Noble, who was at the monitor.
Okay.
I was in Gorilla.
Wow.
Man, I would make a point in Europe or like big international shows, if Undertaker was on the show, to go watch his entrance, to feel how big the entrance was. And it was always really cool. Man, this is different. This is, and I don't know, the guy who headlines Coachella 2 nights in a row goes out there and does this match where he's going through tables before going to the Met Gala. Like, it's like the craziest thing going. He went out there and had 18,000 people going nuts, and the match was killer. Damian Priest was unbelievable. It was a fantastic match, and that was it. And that's just this musician, man. Just this guy who decided, I want to be a pro wrestler, and he worked his butt off. Bad Bunny did.
Yeah.
He worked really hard. But man, I don't know, like, it's like one of the most famous people in the world going out there and having a fantastic match. I don't think Tom is going to have a match like that. You know what I mean? I don't think Swift's going to have a match like that. Like, it was really special.
Yeah, I tell people that Bad Bunny's, like, just look at his Spotify numbers. they dwarf Taylor Swift, and they're like, there's no way. And I pull it up, they're like, how is that possible? And I'm like, that dude's the biggest recording artist in the world right now. And the fact that, the fact that he wants to do this, like, not only is he just like, all right, yeah, that's probably good money, good publicity, whatever. He wants to do this. He wants to get better. Like, he's learning Canadian destroyers. Like you said, he's taking table bumps. Like the Raw after WrestleMania, I was there. That was a nasty bump that he took. And I was like, is he okay? Because I don't think he landed properly on that one. But he's taking these moves that, like you said, guys that are going to the Met Gala the next day are not going to take those moves. But he is. And so I think he's a generational talent musically, but then the fact that he's wanting to do this, you know, Logan Paul's been doing a great job as well when it comes to pro wrestling, but, you know, he's a pretty athletic dude as it is. He's not out there making or selling out entire venues just to hear him sing or rap or whatever. Like, you know, no offense to Logan Paul and what he did, I think, you know, last night, as we're recording this, the boxing event, but, you know, Bad Bunny's on another level, and the fact that he is doing this just shows that, you know, he's a good dude, and he really wants to put his best foot forward in whatever he's doing.
He's certainly something special. When you compare the two, like Logan Paul, and look what he's doing. Yes, amazing stuff. Now look what they're both doing outside the ring. Like, boy, man, there's no way. I mean, even if I was gifted the talent that Bad Bunny has, I don't have the drive to do it the next day and the next day and the next day, and it's a special dude.
Yeah. Now, we touched on it earlier. Next year you'll be celebrating 25 years in the business. What does reinvention mean to you? Because we touched on Chris Jericho, who's, I think he mentioned the other day, he's now been in the business for 33 years, and he's been reinventing himself almost every other year. He's a completely different character, different way he dresses, wrestles, hair, whatever. You've done the same thing throughout your career as well. What does reinvention mean to you, and where do you find your inspiration for your reinvention?
What's it, the necessity is the mother of invention? Is that what it is? Something like that. Yeah. So, I mean, you have to. It's either, you know, you come back as the new rockers, which just, that don't work. You know what I mean? Like, when a time has passed, it's passed. And when you try to redo it, it just seems a little sad. And any sort of, cheers for it or kind of half-hearted sympathy. So you got to reinvent yourself, and you have to do it based on what you can do too. Even at my spryest, I was never doing what the kids do today. You know, I never did 450s, let alone Phoenix splashes, let alone to the floor or any of that stuff. So I try to find what it is that I could be the best at, and so right now I'm just studying a lot of classic 50s, 60s French pro wrestling. Wow. And I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's got me totally captivated, and it's really just a lot of chain and staying linked together. And a lot of that's going to depend on who I wrestle with. I can only do so much before perhaps somebody's uncomfortable. But I'll do what I can and then accentuate what they have, and hopefully it'll lead to an exciting match.
Yeah, I think people, they may have seen some of it in the HBO documentary, but Andre the Giant was doing that stuff when he started wrestling. And obviously you didn't see that when he came to America because he's Andre the Giant. He doesn't need to. He did the big man stuff, but he was doing the drop kicks. He was doing the catch as catch can wrestling. And I think that I've always been a fan of the catch as catch can wrestling. Like, Zack Sabre Jr. is one of my favorite wrestlers. Same thing with Jonathan Grisham. Obviously, somebody you trained with and had many great matches with. Bryan Danielson, his chain wrestling. I mean, there's an award named after him for being the best wrestler. I love that style of wrestling, and I understand how some people might find it boring, but I think mixed in with other things, like we're seeing with Bryan Danielson,